evening and welcome to The Tip, only here at agendatruth.com, where the truth is our only agenda. I am glad that we have all of our formalities out of the way and moving forward we can simply get down to business. Tonight's episode is going to be mind-blowing. I hope you have invited your friends and family, and I hope that you have brought a notepad. You're going to need it. We need to take some notes here. That is the great thing about web TV. If you miss something, you can always go back and review it anytime you like. Also, please tell your friends about our show. If you think the information you learn here is truly helping you, please share it. Share it on your social media. Tell your friends and family. Tell your neighbors. Tell anyone and everyone. Now look, preparing tonight's lesson was tough. And when we are through, you will see the Middle East in an entirely new light. And we will only be scratching the surface. You need to understand certain concepts first, and you will be able to tie it all together in the end, so bear with me. First, you need to know the concept of MAD. MAD. M-A-D. MAD stands for Mutual Assured Destruction. It is a military strategy in which the use of weapons of mass destruction by two opposing sides would in effect cause the complete annihilation of both the attacker and the defender. It is essentially a deterrent strategy. This strategy was primarily practiced during the Cold War from the 1940s to the 1990s, in which the doctrine was used to prevent direct, full-scale conflict between the United States and the Soviet Union. The doctrine of MAD is still used today. So, bear in mind here, we're talking about the word MAD, okay? Pretty simple. Mutually assured destruction. Here's the concept, all right? Follow me over here to the map. The concept is that when it was developed is the United States over here has a bunch of nuclear missiles and they point them in this direction toward Russia. And Russia has a bunch of nuclear missiles and they point them in the direction of the United States. The concept of mutual assured destruction is that if the United States launches its nuclear missiles over here at Russia, well, in turn, Russia will just turn around and shoot its missiles at the United States, or vice versa. The concept is that in this strategy, well, it wouldn't be wise for the United States to shoot its missiles at Russia because Russia's just going to shoot all theirs and wipe out the United States while the United States wipes out Russia. So how about we just don't shoot our nuclear missiles at each other? That's the concept of MAD, okay? In addition, the MAD program grew and it took on a new form. It is called MADE. So we're going to go over here and we've got MAD, and MAD later comes around and creates MADE. Sounds like Minute Maid or something like that. Actually, it sounds a little nuts. I call it Mad Made Madness. It's like, oh yes, master, look at what we created. See, the United States defeated the Soviet Union in the Cold War by collapsing the Soviet Union economically. During the 90s, when President Clinton signed that wonderful bill called NAFTA, you know, the North American Free Trade Agreement, it opened the doors and began creating a world economy. MADE stands for Mutually Assured Destruction Economically. This is, in essence, prevents one country from attacking another country economically, because now all economies are tied together. And if this country fails, then it will cause a domino effect and in essence will cause your own economy to collapse. The problem with the MADE program is that it does not allow room for idiots. Yes, that's right, I said idiots. When you have tied all the world's economies together to deter one country from attacking another country economically, what happens when a country is just simply ruled by idiots and they destroy their own economy themselves? In essence, because of the way in which all countries' economies are now tied together, if one country commits economic suicide, then technically they not only kill themselves, but that of the rest of the world economies also. That, my friends, is why Greece is so important to you. That is why what is happening in Spain and Italy and the rest of Europe is so important to you. That is why the Europe is so important to you. That is why when one country is about to collapse, you will see nations upon nations doing practically anything they can to keep the economy of the troubled country afloat. Because if they go down, we all do. Now, when Al-Qaeda terrorists flew planes into the World Trade Center towers, it was not just an attack on American soil. It was an attack on the world economy. That was the symbolism behind attacking the World Trade Center. Because of the way the world economies are tied together, our enemies do not necessarily need to attack the United States directly in order to attack the United States. So let's go back over here to our map. They could economically attack another country. Let's just say Greece, which according to our wonderful map is somewhere along in this region here, okay? Or Spain, which is kind of over here. Now, and in the long run, it will hurt the United States and our allies. They can do this through the stock market. And believe me when I tell you, our enemies have enough money to move around to wreak havoc on the world's markets. So in other words, let's say our enemies over here want to use all this oil money that they have and they want to invest in and out of the stock market and cause some market turmoil. They only need to economically attack, let's say England or Germany or France or Italy or Greece. And in essence, since all the world's economies are tied together, when they economically attack these countries, it damages the United States. It damages Canada. It damages the entire world economy because they're all tied together now. Okay, so now you're thinking, well, if I understand the MAD and MADE program correctly, then our enemies would be hurting themselves by attacking us with weapons of mass destruction and or through economic attacks. Guess what? You are correct. But there is a huge difference in understanding and ideology. And this is the part the mainstream media will not share with you because they are afraid of offending someone. First, let's talk about a caliphate. I'm going to be using that term a lot, so it's important that you know what a caliphate is. What is a caliphate? There's a lot of talk these days about the resurgence of the Muslim Caliphate. Watch this video here.
مقدمات ظهور رو باید فراهم کرد و باید یک جهاد بین المللی رو دامن زد از هیچ کس هم نباید ترسید.
Now, members of the Muslim Brotherhood have been making the call for the caliphate, and recently the Muslim Brotherhood presidential candidate Mohammed Morsi was just announced the winner of the election in Egypt. He recently stated that Egypt should end the peace treaty with Israel. Keep that in mind. That's going to be something very important coming up. The term caliphate refers to the first form of government established in Islam. A caliphate must govern according to the constitutional and religious law, Sharia. I'm pretty sure that over a period of time, many of you have heard of the word Sharia. A caliphate is also a state which implements such a governmental system. The last movement of the caliphate ended in 1924. Now we are seeing its resurgence. The leader of the caliphate movement is called a khalifa, which means representative. Some use the following verse from the Quran to justify the basis for a caliphate. The Quran says, God has promised those of you who have attained to faith and do righteous deeds that of a certainty He will make them khalifa on earth, even as He causes some of those who live before them to become khalifa, and that of a certainty He will firmly establish for them the religion which He has been pleased to bestow on them, and that of a certainty. He will cause their erstwhile state to be replaced by a sense of security, seeing that they worship Me alone, not ascribing divine powers beside Me, but all who, after having understood this, chose to deny the truth. It is they who are truly iniquitous. That's 20 of the Surah, Al-Nur, verse 55, verses 24 through 55. A number of the Islamist political parties have called for the restoration of the caliphate by uniting Muslim nations together through political action or through force. The Muslim Brotherhood advocates for Islamic unity and implementing Sharia law. Watch this video here. You can hear them say it in their own words.
هل على المسلمين أن يقاتلوا أهل الكتاب حتى يجبروهم على دفع الجزية؟ جميع أهل الكتاب في جميع أنحاء الأرض.
القتال هو ابتداء لإزالة الحواجز المادية، وهذا قتال للدول وليس قتال للأفراد. فنحن عندما نعلن الجهاد على ألمانيا مثلا، على الدولة إذا رفضت أن تقبل أن يدخل الإسلام إلى أهل ألمانيا، فنحن نخيرهم بين الإسلام أو الجزية والخضوع لأحكام الإسلام، والجزية هي الضريبة الوحيدة التي يدفعها غير المسلمين، بينما المسلمون يدفعوا الزكاة ويدفعوا الخراج ويدفعوا الركاز ويدفعوا الضرائب إذا نقص في بيت المال ولم يكن هناك مال للجند أو للجيش أو
لغير الطرف الآخر أن يخشاكم يا شيخ أحمد؟ يعني هل تلوم الأوروبيين أن يخشوكم حين تقولون إن علينا أن نقاتلهم جميعا؟
نقاتل الدولة، نقاتل الجيوش، لا نقاتل الناس.
الناس نقاتل الدولة
طبعا.
طيب
أنا عشان أخذ من فهد الخطاب.
طيب هل تلومون
الناس لا نقاتلهم، لا نقتلهم، فقط إذا أصرت هذه الدولة أن تمنع نشر الإسلام في أراضيها فنقاتل الدولة كدولة.
يعني كتاب كلاش اوف سيفلايزيشنز لسامويل هانتنغتون واللي قبله لفوكوياما أستاذه الذي تنبأ بأن الصراع القادم بين الإسلام والغرب.
يا دكتور
نعم شوي، يعني معناته صحيح
صراع الحضارات صحيح، هم استعمرونا وهم كذا، والإسلام لولا الجهاد لما وصل إلينا، ولولا الجهاد لما وصل إلى باقي البقاع. أغلب العالم القديم خلال ربع قرن كان واصل الإسلام بالجهاد، والناس العاديين بدهم الإسلام، اللي ما بده الإسلام ضل على دينه. نحن في بلاد الشام أغلب أجدادنا الأوائل كانوا ليسوا مسلمين، لكن دخلوا لحسن الإسلام ولعدالة الإسلام، وبقي القلة القليلة في بلاد المسلمين.
رائع. لا
وحفظنا لهم
نقطة جوهرية. رائع. إذا نحن مأمورون بالقتال لنشر دين الله.
نعم، هذه طريقة الإسلام في نشر الإسلام.
طيب لو وصلتم أنتم إلى الحكم هل ستحررون فلسطين؟
نعم يجب إعلان الجهاد، ويجب إزالة إسرائيل من الوجود وإفنائها. هذا الكيان مسخ ويجب إزالته من الوجود.
هل ستوافق على أن يتولى مسيحي وزارة المالية مثلا؟
لا أوافق. فيش وزارات أصلا في الإسلام، ما في وزارات.
ماذا هنالك؟
في وزير تفويض وفي وزارة التنفيذ. وزير التفويض يعتبر من الحكم، والحكم خاص بالمسلمين فقط. كل ما هو من شأن الحكم، يعني رئيس الدولة اللي هو الخليفة أو معاون التفويض أو معاون التنفيذ أو الوالي أو العامل اللي هو زي بيشبه المحافظ، هذا يجب أن يكون مسلما ويجب أن يكون رجلا أيضا. الدول الأوروبية تعيش ما قبل التاريخ، تعيش ما قبل الإنسانية في حياتها. الزواج المثلي سواء بين النساء والنساء وبين الرجال والرجال، هذه هي مدنيتكم.
هذا ما رأيته
هذه مدنيتكم.
المشكلة يا أخي
الملايين الذين خرجوا إلى وول ستريت يقولون الشعب يريد إسقاط النظام
بدون مقاطعة بدون مقاطعة. كل اللي شفته في الغرب أن هناك مثليين، هذا طلع هذا الغرب.
شو عندهم غير هيك؟ شو عندهم غير هيك؟ ما عندهم غير هيك.
الإنجازات العلمية، حرية الفكر، حرية التعليم.
أنا بنجدها.
أقول لك
أنا كنت نجح أكثر منهم.
لولا
المستقبل هو للإسلام، وسوف والخلافة الإسلامية قادمة تحقيقا لبشرى رسولنا صلى الله عليه وسلم، ثم تكون خلافة على منهاج النبوة.
Now, Al-Qaeda has as one of its clearly stated goals the reestablishment of a caliphate. So let's get this right. We're going to go back over here to this map for just a brief second that we've now scribbled all over. We're going to continue to do so. I think that's what the purpose of chalkboards are for. So in other words, a caliphate is a movement, a global movement of all the nations of Islam or Muslims to form a nation of Islam. Almost like how we're the United States, they're going to be the United States of Islam, so to speak. So we see that Tunisia has had uprisings. We've seen uprisings in Libya. We now have the uprisings in Egypt. We now have problems going on in Israel and Syria and everywhere else. Iran, they're all joining together under one flag, the flag of Islam. And so what happens is this global movement. The caliphate, my friends, has begun. All right, we're going to take a quick, short commercial break, and when we get back, we're going to dive into what is the 12th Imam.
4 أرطال من الأنثراكس، 4 أرطال جنطة هالكبرها، يشيلها واحد فدائي ويدخلها من أنفاق مكسيكو إلى الولايات المتحدة، كفيلة بقتل 330 ألف أمريكي في ساعة واحدة، إذا أتقن نثرها على الوعاء السكاني هناك. مرعبة الفكرة. يعني 11 سبتمبر تطلع زلاطة عند الموضوع هذا، صح ولا لا؟ وما في داعي طيارات وشكبانات ومواعيد وقصة من المؤامرات والتوقيتات. واحد عنده من البسالة اللي يدخل معاه 4 أرطال من الأنثراكس ويدخل حديقة البيت الأبيض، صح ولا لا؟ وكت عليهم النون هذا، صح ولا لا؟ ويدب عقبها، تصير المسألة طماشة هناك. WMD مشكلة. خايفين الأمريكان إنه WMD يطيح بإيد تنظيمات بين قوسين إرهابية مثل القاعدة أو غيرها. وهناك ما يدعو لتخوف الأمريكان، لأن القاعدة عندها في منطقة هيرات سابقا فعلا لابوراتوريز في شمال أفغانستان، عندهم علماء، عندهم كيمستس، وعندهم ناس متخصصين بالنيوكلير فيزيكس.
Okay, welcome back. We're going to continue on here. We're going to dive into what a 12th Imam is and what is a 12er. Now that you understand what a caliphate is, we can now take the next step. What is a 12th Imam and what is a 12er? Pay attention here and get ready to take some notes, because we're going to do a lot of referencing here to show connections. First, we need to explain what the 12th Imam is. So pay really close attention. You're going to love this. The 12th Imam is also known as the Muhammad al-Mahdi. The 11th Imam was Hassan al-Askari. The 11th Imam died approximately January 1st of 874. Muhammad al-Mahdi, the 12th Imam, is an important figure in Shiite teaching who is believed to reappear at the end of time to fill the world with justice, peace, and to establish Islam as an entire global, okay, keep this in mind, an entire global religion. It is believed by 12er Shia Muslims that the 12th Imam is the Mahdi, the ultimate savior of humankind and the final Imam of the 12 Imams. 12ers believe that the al-Mahdi was born in 869 and did not die, but rather was hidden by God in 941 and will later emerge with Jesus Christ in order to fulfill their mission of bringing peace and justice to the world. It is important to know that it is arguably believed that the bloodline of the 12th Imam will come from the lineage of Ishmael, the son of Abraham, with his wife's Egyptian maidservant Hagar. I will touch on this again in just a few minutes. It is believed that the 12th Imam will establish a universal caliphate. The 12th Imam, in accordance with Allah's command, is to bring justice and peace to the world by establishing Islam throughout the world. Shiites also believe that the 12th Imam will appear when the world has fallen into chaos and civil war emerges between the human race for no reason. So, what are the signs of the 12th Imam? And does the Bible make any reference to the 12th Imam? Possibly. We will show you what we have found and let you be the judge. We'll be right back in just a moment.
خير العباد الماء الشاب الشهادة محمد يا نعم القدر
All right, welcome back, and thank you for your patience there. We've got this board ready on some stuff that's going to shock you, so make sure that you're paying attention and you get your notepad out on this part. There's a couple things I would like to show here. There are some characteristics in the Bible that describe the Antichrist, and there are some characteristics that describe the 12th Imam in the Quran. And in my studies, I found it very interesting on the very real similarities, and the similarities that we have I think cannot be a coincidence. So it's important for me to show these to you. All right, on this side we have Jesus in the Bible in the book of Revelation here, and on this side we have the characteristics from the Quran on the 12th Imam. Okay, so this is going to get pretty scary, so just bear with me here. All right, the Antichrist in the book of Revelation says that the Antichrist comes and he kills Jews and Christians, okay? Well, the 12th Imam is supposed to come, and guess what he does? He kills all Jews and Christians. Because remember, the goal of the Caliphate is to establish a one-world government when that government is ruled by Sharia, so one nation of Islam. So the goal is that once the 12th Imam kills all Christians and Jews and everyone is Muslim, then the world can live in peace. So Antichrist kills Jews and Christians, 12th Imam kills all Jews and Christians. Okay, the Antichrist is supposed to rule for 7 years from Jerusalem, all right? The 12th Imam is supposed to rule for 7 years from Jerusalem. All right, the Antichrist will make peace with Israel, but will break the peace. According to the Quran, the 12th Imam will make peace with Israel, but will break the peace. So, okay, this is getting a little weird. Okay, Antichrist has a global seat at the Temple Mount, which is in Jerusalem, okay? The 12th Imam is supposed to establish a global seat at the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. Okay, the Antichrist, he likes to kill, the way he prefers to kill Jews and Christians is by beheading them. The Antichrist comes along and beheads all non-believers. So what I mean is those who will not bow down to him. Well, the 12th Imam is supposed to behead all non-believers. So if you do not convert to Islam, then you're to be killed and preferably beheaded. Now, this is the part that really shocked me the most. In the book of Revelations, it is talked about that the Antichrist is to establish unto the people a mark of the beast. So in order to buy food, commerce, to live your life, you have to have the mark of the beast, which means you have submitted and rejected Jesus Christ in Christianity and in Judaism, and you have accepted the Antichrist as your Lord and Savior. So the Antichrist gives you a mark of the beast. What does the 12th Imam do? The 12th Imam in the Quran, it says that all the true believers will receive the mark of the beast. See, in Islam, the beast is a separate character, but the beast is supposed to be a good guy that helps the 12th Imam, and his job is to mark the head of all the true believers, all the true Muslims. So according to Islamic belief, the beast comes along, and everyone who's a true Muslim is supposed to receive a mark of some sort so that all the Muslims know who the true believers are and who is not, so they know who to kill and who not to kill. I thought that was a very interesting comparison here. In the book of Revelations, Jesus returns and delivers his people from the rule of the Antichrist. He ultimately defeats the army of the Antichrist. The Quran teaches that Jesus returns and tells Christians that they were wrong. That supposedly Jesus says that he never claimed to be the Son of God, he wasn't crucified, and that Islam has been right this entire time. So, as you can see from this board, the comparisons are astounding. So similar are they that I don't believe it can be a coincidence. Now, that being said, let's look at a couple of other attributes as well. The 12th Imam's coming will be announced by earthquakes, sea storms, and a fire over the sky of Basra. And a great army will march against him in Syria. Now, Scripture calls the Antichrist, in the Bible, the biblical Scripture calls the Antichrist the Assyrian. The 12th Imam will receive aid from the east. Now, Muhammad reportedly said, "Many armies will come after me. You must join the one from Khorasan." That is the army of the Caliph. Now, where's Khorasan? It was interesting. I looked that up. I want to know where it was at. Khorasan is in Persia. Persia is now Iran. See, Persia changed its name to Iran in 1935. Remember that year. What was going on in 1935? The word Iran translates to the land of Aryans. I find it interesting that during the same period, Adolf Hitler was trying to create the master Aryan race. The 12th Imam will be the Caliph and Imam of Muslims worldwide. He will unite Islam. He will lead a world revolution and establish a new world order. Wow, we've heard that term before, right? I mean, several presidents have even mentioned the new world order. He will lead Muslims to wage jihad against the rest of the world. He will conquer Israel for Islam. He will establish a new Islamic world headquarters from Jerusalem. There are a few recent references from Muslim leaders calling to establish the capital of the Caliphate in Jerusalem. He will cause Islam to be the only religion practiced on the earth and rule with Sharia. We want to watch this video right here really quick, and we'll show you these Muslims calling to establish Jerusalem as the capital of the Caliphate. Now, here are two very interesting points. According to the Quran, the 12th Imam will discover some previously undiscovered biblical manuscripts that he will use to argue with the Jews and cause some Jews and Christians to convert to Islam. Iran's Bassi Press is claiming a purported gospel of Barnabas discovered in the year 2000. And it said that it will prove that Islam is the final and righteous religion, causing the collapse worldwide of Christianity. Bassi Press reports that Turkey confiscated the text written on animal hide in an anti-smuggling operation. Turkish authorities believe it could be an authentic version of the Gospel of Barnabas by the apostle known for his travels with the Apostle Paul. Now, Bassi Press contends the text was written in the 5th or 6th century and predicts the coming of the Muhammad and the religion of Islam. According to the Barnabas Gospel in Turkey's hands, Bassi Press says Jesus was never crucified, he's not the Son of God, and he himself predicts the coming of Muhammad. The book even predicts the coming of the last Islamic Messiah, the report says. The discovery of the original Barnabas Bible will now undermine the Christian church and its authority and will revolutionize the religion in the world, the Bassi report says. The most significant fact, though, is that this Bible has predicted the coming of the Prophet Muhammad and in itself has verified the religion of Islam. And this alone will unbalance the powers of the world and create instability in the Christian world. We have one last touch about the 12th Imam. It is reported that the 12th Imam will appear riding a white horse. Within the Bible, in the book of Revelation, chapter 6, verse 2, it says, I looked, and there before me was a white horse. Its rider held a bow, and he was given a crown, and he rode out as a conqueror, bent on conquest. Many Muslims, even though they disagree with the Bible, believe that even the Bible is making reference to the coming of the 12th Imam in this passage. It is important to note that this rider on a white horse in the book of Revelations is holding a bow. Keep that in mind. So why is it important to note this? That the rider on the white horse is carrying this bow. Interestingly enough, as this reference is in the last book of the Bible, we now need to reference the first book of the Bible, Genesis. Keep in mind a few things as we dive a little bit further. Remember what has been occurring in Egypt and just Egypt in general. Remember the bow. And remember that it is believed that the 12th Imam will come from the house of Ishmael. Okay, Genesis chapter 16, verses 1 through 3 says that Sarai, Abram's wife, had borne him no children, but she had an Egyptian maidservant named Hagar. So she said to Abraham, the Lord has kept me from having children. Go sleep with my maidservant. Perhaps I can build a family through her. Abram agreed to what Sarai said. So after Abram had been living in Canaan 10 years, Sarai, his wife, took her Egyptian maidservant Hagar and gave her to her husband to be his wife. He slept with Hagar and she conceived. Now once Sarai learned that Hagar was pregnant, she began to despise Hagar, and so Sarai started mistreating Hagar. And so Hagar was like, well, I'm being treated bad, I'm going to flee. And so she fled. When Hagar fled, she stopped by a stream, and later an angel of the Lord appears to Hagar near the spring and says, go back to your mistress and submit to her. The angel added, I will so increase your descendants that they will be too numerous to count. The angel of the Lord also said to her, you are now with child, and you will have a son. You shall name him Ishmael, for the Lord has heard of your misery. He will be a wild man. His hand shall be against every man, and every man's hand shall be against him, and he shall dwell in the presence of all his brethren. Now, Genesis chapter 16, 9 through 12. Let's see what that says here. Let me grab that. Well, actually, that was Genesis chapter 16, 9 through 12. My apologies. Later, God establishes his covenant with Abraham, and Abram becomes Abraham. I can see where the Bible get a little confusing here over all these name changes. And Sarai becomes Sarah. So now Abram and Sarai are now Abraham and Sarah. Later, God delivers on his promise, and Sarah gives birth to Isaac. So we're going to read what comes in there in Genesis 21, 8 through 20. Okay? So what does it say? Genesis chapter 21, verses 8 through 20. So the child grew and was weaned, and Abraham made a great feast on the same day that Isaac was weaned. And Sarah saw the son of Hagar the Egyptian, whom she had borne to Abraham, scoffing. Therefore she said to Abraham, cast out this bondwoman and her son, for the son of this bondwoman shall not be heir with my son, namely with Isaac. And the matter was very displeasing in Abraham's sight because of his son. But God said to Abraham, do not let it be displeasing in your sight because of the lad or because of your bondwoman. Whatever Sarah has said to you, listen to her voice, for in Isaac your seed shall be called. Yet I will also make a nation of the son of the bondwoman, because he is your seed. So Abraham rose early in the morning and took bread and a skin of water, and putting it on her shoulders, he gave it and the boy into Hagar and sent her away. Then she departed and wandered in the wilderness of Beersheba. And the water in the skin was used up, and she placed the boy under one of the shrubs. Then she went and sat down across from him at a distance of about a bow shot. For she said to herself, let me not see the death of the boy. So she sat opposite of him and lifted her voice and wept. And God heard the voice of the lad. Then the angel of God called to Hagar out of heaven and said to her, what ails you, Hagar? Fear not, for God has heard the voice of the lad. Where is he? Arise, lift up the lad and hold him with your hand, for I will make him a great nation. Then God opened her eyes and saw a well of water, and she went and filled the skin with water and gave the lad a drink. So God was with the lad, and he grew and dwelt in the wilderness and became an archer. He dwelt in the wilderness of Paran, and his mother took a wife for him from the land of Egypt. Okay, so keep that in mind. That's some very important stuff there. So, Ishmael is an archer and takes a wife from Egypt. In Genesis chapter 17, verses 20 through 21, God says, and as for Ishmael, I have heard you. I will surely bless him. I will make him fruitful and will greatly increase his numbers. He will be the father of 12 rulers, and I will make him into a great nation. But by my covenant I will establish with Isaac, whom Sarah will bear to you by this time next year. Okay, note that God says Ishmael will be the father of 12 rulers. I find it ironic that Islam believes in a total of 12 imams, or leaders of the Islamic Caliphate, and it is believed that the imams are part of the house of Ishmael. So in consideration in the Middle East, we have the call for the return of the Caliphate and to establish Jerusalem as the capital of the Caliphate, coming from many, but primarily a lot of clerics from Egypt. And Ishmael's mother was Egyptian, and his wife was Egyptian. So take a look at this video here.
رأينا حلم الخلافة الإسلامية، حلم أرض الخلافة يتحقق بإذن الله على يد الدكتور محمد مرسي ومن معه من إخوانه وجماعته وحزبه. رأينا الحلم الكبير الذي نحلم به جميعا، الولايات المتحدة العربية. الولايات المتحدة العربية ستعود إن شاء الله، ستعود الولايات المتحدة العربية على يد هذا الرجل ومن معه إن شاء الله. ستكون عاصمة الخلافة ستكون عاصمة الولايات المتحدة العربية هي القدس إن شاء الله.
بكرة مرسي حرر غزة. أنا مصر بكل عزة. بكرة مرسي حرر غزة. 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 تكبير تكبير تكبير.
ستكون عاصمتنا ليست القاهرة ولا مكة ولا المدينة، وإنما القدس إن شاء الله. وسيكون هتافنا على القدس رايحين شهداء بالملايين. على القدس رايحين
شهداء بالملايين.
على القدس رايحين شهداء بالملايين. على القدس رايحين شهداء بالملايين. على القدس
رايحين شهداء بالملايين. على القدس رايحين شهداء بالملايين.
من عيون كل اليهود طيروا النعاس. يلا يا عشاق الشهادة كلكم حماس. من عيون كل اليهود يلا يا عشاق الشهادة كلكم حماس. من عيون كل اليهود طيروا النعاس. يلا يا عشاق الشهادة كلكم حماس. انسوا العالم كل العالم وانسوا المؤتمرات. شيلوا سلاحكم صلوا قيامكم. شيلوا سلاحكم صلوا قيامكم. وادعوا رب الناس وادعوا رب الناس. من عيون كل اليهود يلا يلا يا عشاق الشهادة. من عيون كل اليهود طيروا النعاس. يلا يا عشاق الشهادة.
نعم، كل عشاق الشهادة هم حماس، ونقولها من هنا من المحلة، من قلب الدلتا، من قلب مصر، وليسمع العالم جميعا. ولن نوري ولن نواري ولن نداهن. نعم، هدفنا القدس. سنصلي في القدس أو ننال الشهادة على أعتاب القدس.
الله
على القدس رايحين شهداء بالملايين. على القدس
رايحين شهداء بالملايين.
There is a call of the return of the 12th Imam, also known as the Al-Mahdi, to be the Khalifa of the Caliphate that will return riding on a white horse. Now, the Al-Mahdi is believed to be of the house of Ishmael and will be the 12th Imam. We have already had 11 Imams. God promised to bless Ishmael as the father of 12 rulers. The book of Revelation calls for a rider in the end of days to appear riding a white horse carrying a bow. Ishmael was an archer. This could show the ties of the 12th Imam to the house of Ishmael. Some scholars view Ishmael to be the father of Islam, much how Abraham is the father of Judeo-Christianity. In the Christian belief, it could be understood that Ishmael was born from sin in the haste of Abraham and Sarah wanted to do things by their plan instead of the plan of God. So God had promised Abraham and Sarah children, but instead of waiting for God to fulfill His promise, they decided that they would take it upon themselves in their humanity and allow Abraham to sleep with Sarah's maidservant Hagar. So in other words, Ishmael was born out of sin. Keep that in mind. The Antichrist is known as the Assyrian, and Muhammad says that a great army will come against him in Syria, but that he will receive aid from the east, an army from Khorasan, the army of the Caliph, which is located in Iran. We have already touched on all the characteristics of the 12th Imam and the Antichrist. So, now that you see this perspective, what is a 12er, and how does all of this affect you in your understanding of the Middle East? A 12er believes that the world must be in chaos, war, and bloodshed for the return of the 12th Imam to come. 12ers believe that it is the will of Allah for them to cause as much chaos and bloodshed as they possibly can so that they can hasten the return of the 12th Imam. 12ers have no problem being a martyr or martyring their people in the name of Allah. Now, here's something you must understand. The Iranian president, Mohammed Ahmadinejad, also known here by us as President Ahmadinejad, is a 12er. He sees that it is his main mission, as he stated in his speech on November 16th in Tehran, is to pave the path for the glorious reappearance of the Imam Mahdi, the 12th Imam. May Allah hasten his reappearance. Ahmadinejad gave a speech before the United Nations, and he called to the mighty Lord to hasten the emergence of the promised one, the one who will fill this world with justice and peace. Watch this video here. You can see Ahmadinejad saying it himself.
Let's support goodness and the majority of people who are good, and the embodiment of absolute good, that is the Imam of time, the promised one who will come accompanied by Jesus Christ, and accordingly design and implement the just and humanistic mechanisms for regulating the constructive relationships between nations and governments. O great Almighty, deliver the Savior of nations and put an end to the sufferings of mankind, and bring forth justice, beauty, and love. Friends, let's have a proper share in the establishment of that illuminated and promised divine age.
You need to understand that President Ahmadinejad is serious. Look, I'm not a prophet. I just take people at their word, and you should. It doesn't matter if you believe in all this stuff. What matters is Ahmadinejad does. What matters is that there's a lot of Muslims who do believe in this. That's the problem. We need to take people at their word. You know, Adolf Hitler in Germany told everybody what he was going to do to the Jewish people. And everyone just dismissed it and called it political rhetoric. Well, what happened? Well, now that we see all this rhetoric about the return of the Caliphate, let's kill all Christians and Jews. It's time for the end of the world. We want to wipe Israel off the face of the map. We have to start taking people at their word. President Ahmadinejad is serious about the return of the Mahdi, and he truly believes that it is his job to prepare the way for the Mahdi's soon return. Now, keep in mind, what has to be occurring for the Mahdi to return? The world has to be bathed in blood and in chaos and everything else, okay? Now, he believes that when he does return, the Mahdi will lead the Caliphate with war against the West and Israel and kill all the Christians and Jews, which ultimately is going to make the one world government of Islam, and everything's supposed to be peaceful then. The reason we started this episode discussing the military strategy called MAD is because you will see some argue in favor of Iran developing nuclear energy, etc. And they will say, well, if they develop nuclear missiles or bombs, then they will use them for their defense and as a deterrent. You must understand that the MAD program only works between civilized individuals. MAD does not work when practiced against those who live by ideology. Look, if Iran develops a nuclear bomb, it will be used. How do I know that? President Ahmadinejad does not care if a retaliatory attack on Iran occurs. He views the death of his people as them being martyred in the name of Allah. As a 12er, he believes that it will hasten the return of the 12th Imam and bring peace to all Muslims. Okay? The 12th Imam is to come and kill all Christians and Jews and establish Sharia law over the whole world. So watch what happens. Ahmadinejad will not care to use a nuclear bomb on America or on Israel or on Saudi Arabia's oil fields. Okay? The way I see this possibly playing out is Iran has been testing missiles lately, and they've been shooting the missiles straight up in the air. When you're practicing launching an intercontinental ballistic missile, you launch it at an arc. You don't launch it straight up. What's been happening is these missiles have been launching straight up in the air and exploding, and Iran's been saying, oh, it's a failure. No, I think not. What happens is this, is Iran could stick a missile on a cargo vessel and set it somewhere over here, just in international waters off of our coast. They could launch that missile with a nuclear warhead straight up 250 miles into the atmosphere and explode it. Now, I'm not worried about the nuclear blast. That wouldn't do any damage. But what happens when a nuclear bomb explodes? And especially if it's this high in the atmosphere, it causes an EMP, an electromagnetic pulse, which guess what that does, ladies and gentlemen? That shuts down everything that's running on electricity. Planes will fall out of the air. Cars will just stop. Your cell phones will no longer work. Computers will shut down. Telephones no longer operating. Everything that runs on electricity crashes. All of it. And it cannot be, the power company cannot come back out and reestablish it in a few hours, okay? what happens is it would take approximately probably 1.5 to 2 years for the United States to ever even begin reestablishing the electrical grid. Okay? Now, a report that I have read says that if an EMP attack occurs inside the United States, such as this, that within 18 months, 90% of the U.S. population will be killed. Now, here's what happens. We're watching Iran is partnering up, allying with Russia, and defending the Syrian government. We're supposedly arming the Syrian rebels to fight against the Syrian government. So the lines are being drawn. What I think happens is Russia and Iran will move in and attack Israel via ground forces. I think that Iran will use a nuclear bomb on the Saudi Arabian oil fields to destabilize the world economy and ruin the oil. And at the same time, they will launch an EMP attack off the coast of the United States. Now, why do that? An EMP attack does not have any nuclear radiation in here, and plus leaves all the United States resources intact. Well, you got to keep in mind that Hezbollah and Hamas have been setting up bases and working with the drug cartels to infiltrate our country through our southern border. So they already have people coming in here. You can Google and look at this up. There's plenty of defense personnel that talk about this. That's the way that I foresee the game coming. So, the goal of the Caliphate is to establish Sharia law over the entire world. And once the entire world is Muslim, then it will bring peace. So guys, now when you watch your mainstream media news the next time and you see things coming out of Iran and Israel and Syria and all those areas and Egypt and Libya, my hope is that now you can see that region in an entirely different light. You can understand their ideology and you can see what is coming. I hope that you prepare. I hope that you've prepared your mind. I hope that you've prepared your heart. And I hope that you've prepared your family. Thank you very much. And tune in next week as we talk about the fractional banking system.
وعد الله الذين آمنوا منكم وعملوا الصالحات ليستخلفنهم في الأرض كما استخلف الذين من قبلهم وليمكنن لهم دينهم الذي ارتضى لهم وليبدلنهم من بعد خوفهم أمنا يعبدونني لا يشركون بي شيئا ومن كفر بعد ذلك فأولئك هم الفاسقون.
نعم، وأبشر جميع إخواني أن النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام بشرنا بأن خلافة إسلامية ستكون في آخر الزمان. ومن يدري لعل هذه الأحداث وما سيتلوها من أحداث تكون مقدمة لخلافة إسلامية. نعم. تماما، بأن الخلافة ستقام ورغم أنف أمريكا ورغم أنف أوروبا ورغم أنف العلمانيين ستقوم هذه الخلافة.
هذا وعد ربنا الذي لا تخلف ولا تغير، وهذا وعد نبينا. بل أنا أقول لكم يا شباب الأمة أبشروا، فورب الكعبة ستقام الملحمة وسترفع راية الجهاد على أرض القدس، بل وستنزل الخلافة الراشدة الأرض المقدسة.
ثم ملك جبري. ما معنى الجبري؟ الملك العاض هو الذي يعض على الكرسي فقط، أما الجبري الذي يجبر الناس على أن يخضعوا له، هي أشد من العاض. حالة قذافي إما أنا وإما أن أحرق، مبارك إما أنا وإما الفوضى، بن علي إما أنا وإما، عبد الله صالح إما أنا وإما. ما كانش شق الملك الجبري.
وفي رمضان الذي مضى كنت أتكلم عن تقارير سياسية وعن تقارير في الأرصاد وعن أبحاث شرعية كلها تشهد بأن عصر الخلافة الجديد في الطريق.
كنا في بعض الأحيان نغضب ونسأل الله الموت على أن نرى ما يحدث للمسلمين، فلما أطال الله عمرنا وأقر أعيننا برؤية هذا النصر وهذا الحراك الفوار، أصبحنا الآن نعكس الدعاء ونقول أطل أعمارنا لنعيش ولو لحظة تحت راية خلافة الإسلام.
إيه استنى مولانا، خلافة إيه؟ خلافة إيه وتمكين إيه وأنت شايف بتكلمنا؟ كان صلى الله عليه وسلم والمسلمون يذبحون ويقتلون ويتعرضون للعذاب في مكة. كان صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول: والذي نفسي بيده ليتمن الله هذا الأمر حتى لا يسير الراكب من صنعاء إلى حضرموت لا يخاف إلا الله والذئب على غنمه ولكنكم تستعجلون.
كونوا على قدر المسؤولية وانصروا الخلافة على جثثكم وأشلائكم، على جثثكم وأشلائكم.
ويقول أكثر علماء المسلمين اليوم أننا نعيش هذه الفترة، فترة الملك الجبري، الملك الذي هو بالقوة. اصبروا حتى تستمعوا. هذا الملك الجبري وسيلته للوصول إلى الحكم القوة، وضمان بقائه القوة، ونزوله بالقوة. فهذا الحكم الجبري.
إنما هذا المسجد له رسالة المسجد، ورسالة المسجد هي رسالة الإسلام وتوحيد الملك العلام وتعليم الناس أن يعبدوا الله جل وعلا، تعبيد الناس لربهم لإقامة خلافة راشدة بينهم.
دقنا لما كانت الشريعة ولما كانت الخلافة الإسلامية ولما كان الشرع مطبق، دقنا العزة، دقنا من أمير المؤمنين إلى نكفور كلب الروم. فأما بعد فإن جوابي ما سترى دون ما ستسمع. دقنا أيتها السحابة أمطري حيث شئت فإن خراجك سيصل بإذن الله إلي هنا. دقنا العزة يا إخواني، إنما لما بعدنا عن الإسلام فشل.
فلا بد أن يكون سعينا الآن موافق لهذا الخبر القدري الذي أخبر عنه صلى الله عليه وسلم، أننا نريد أن ننتقل من زمان الملك الجبري إلى زمان الخلافة الراشدة التي تكون على منهاج النبوة. وإن كل زمان يضيع منا الآن يكون إعطاء مدة زمنية لإمداد هذا الملك الجبري، فإما أن نمد في هذه المدة ونطيلها، وإما أن نعجل بها ونتكلم عن الإسلام ونتكلم عن حكم الله تبارك وتعالى وشرعه. ولكن القوم لا يريدون هذه النبرة.
أن الأمر مسلم قاطع، بل وهو بإجماع علماء المسلمين، إجماع، والإجماع حجة، لأنه لا تتفق أمتي على ضلالة، الإجماع حجة. لذلك مثلا هناك إجماع في الفقه على على فريضة نصب خليفة المسلمين وسلطان للمسلمين يقيم أحكام الإسلام. إجماع
واحدة لا يجوز أن تتمزق ولا يجوز أن تتبعر، بل إن هناك حديث عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه قال: إذا بويع لخليفتين فاقتلوا الثاني منهما، وفي رواية فاقتلوا الآخر منهما، بمعنى أن الأصل في المسلمين أن لهم حاكم واحد يحكم، فإذا نازعه ثاني فإن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يأمر بقتل الثاني حسما للفتنة. وانظروا اليوم إلى عالم الإسلامي، انظروا الآن إلى العالم الإسلامي، كم من دولة وكم من رئيس وكم من ملك وكم من أمير والأصل أنهم لو كانوا فعلا يحبون كتاب الله وسنة النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم لا أجمعوا على تمزيق هذه الحدود وهذه السدود، واختاروا حاكما واحدا يحكم بكتاب الله وبسنة رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم.
ولذلك أدعوكم إلى هذه الفكرة أن نعلن هذا الاسم، الوحدويون الإسلاميون تحت راية الخلافة الإسلامية. الخلافة أعني بها الخلافة الراشدة،
لكنهم قالوا نريد فصلا للدين عن السياسة، الدين دين والسياسة سياسة، وهم في ذلك أيضا مخطئون، لأن السياسة إذا كانت تعني إدارة البلاد والعباد فإن القرآن جاء خصيصا لإدارة البلاد والعباد ليسوقهم إلى مرضات الله تبارك وتعالى. وإذا قالوا نريد فصلا عن الدين أو فصل الدين عن السياسة فإن ذلك لا يتماشى مع عقيدتي كمسلم. اقرأوا إن جئتم قول الله تبارك وتعالى وما اختلفتم فيه من شيء فحكمه إلى الله،
كما بينها النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم: إنه ستكون فيكم النبوة ما شاء الله أن تكون، ثم يرفعها الله إذا شاء أن يرفعها، ثم تكون خلافة راشدة على نهج النبوة ما شاء الله أن تكون، ثم يرفعها الله إذا شاء أن يرفعها، ثم تكون حكما عاضا أو ورثيا ما شاء الله أن تكون، ثم يرفعها الله إذا شاء أن يرفعها، ثم تكون حكما جبريا ما شاء الله أن تكون، ثم يرفعها الله إذا شاء أن يرفعها، ثم تكون خلافة راشدة على نهج النبوة. ثم سكت صلى الله عليه وسلم.